Hello, Mike. What's up?
Hey Gotham, nice to hear from you again. Such a honor to be on this project or podcast of yours.
Oh, thank you so much. Let's do pleasantries like we just haven't talked, like 5 minutes back. But uh, but but so nice to talk to you. And it's been a while, I think, since we caught up, and this is like a
Right.
perfect opportunity for us to catch up, talk about talk about the last incredible almost 2 years that we've had,
I can't
and
believe it's been already 2 years,
it's,
almost two
it's already
years.
been 2 years, yeah. So,
Absolutely.
but a great opportunity for us. So I think shoot the shit about some of the things that we've experienced over the last 2 years, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to this talk. But just before we start, I'd love it if you could do like a quick introduction. So like the
To your fans.
classic interview question. So tell me about yourself.
Okay, sorry. I'm Margarita, and half the world knows me as Maita, and I did that on purpose to confuse, to be that interesting. No, but yeah, I'm obviously, as you know, I'm from the Philippines, and I studied in the US and did a little bit of work in Ghana, Indonesia, and now I'm here in Spain. And yeah, I just co-founded a startup that I guess I have to clarify based on this beautiful cover page of yours. that, we take the byproduct of breweries and repurpose it as a raw material to produce fresh mushrooms because I believe that in uh, the saying that of Doug McMaster, who's a chef at Zero Waste, that waste is just a failure of imagination. So we're following the principles of circular economy and making cool things out of mushrooms.
Awesome, great introduction. I give that a solid 9.5 on 10.
Thanks. We can talk about points of improvement later.
Yeah, I'll give you my feedback notes. Feedback notes later.
Well
But
appreciated.
I did snoop around your LinkedIn before we got on the call. So I did see that you did your education abroad,
Hmm.
and I'd love to get your perspective on that. So did you go directly from the Philippines over there? Did you live there a little while before you did that, or
Hmm.
what was that like?
Well, no, I mean, I was born and raised in the Philippines and lived there till I was 18. And, I'm the youngest of four siblings, and everyone kind of went to the same university. And I was just picturing I could already picture my life in that university. I knew exactly where I would be living and what course I would be taking. And I just didn't want a predictable life. So I wanted to see the bigger world out there. I left at 18. Um, and I studied international affairs in Northeastern University in Boston,
Hmm.
with no plans other than to study something that I wouldn't be able to find in the Philippines. And it really kind of took me on this path of just continuous exploring and continuously learning. So it's been great. I was the first, and I think having been able to do that, I've been able to share that experience with others and kind of encourage them to also step out of their
Uh-huh.
comfort zone to try new things. I absolutely advocate for studying abroad or spending time away from where you're from to really get to know yourself, to get to know your values, and to kind of test the waters of who you are and who you want to be, and find yourself. So yeah.
On a quick side note, what is it with people who study international affairs and starting startups?
I
Because
did listen to your last podcast.
yeah, because what are they teaching you there that all of you feel the immediate need to quit everything and start your own thing? How- what is this curriculum that
I mean,
the rest of us don't have access to?
I'm telling you, like I never planned to be an entrepreneur, never planned to take my MBA. Like none of this was planned. Or if I told myself 10 years ago that I was gonna be founding a startup, I might have, I don't know, studied a little more agriculture or food or something. But no, this all came with walking the journey of life, with being so open. I think that's what international affairs, international relations people have, is that unlike maybe technical degrees, we kind of know that um, getting into a social science and humanities course is a way of understanding the world. It's not a way of defining a path. So
You've just successfully called every engineer out there an idiot. But
we all have our parts and to play in this one.
but thank you for that.
It's a
I'll
dance.
let you know I'm an engineer before we proceed. You can
I-
imagine how the rest of this conversation is going to go.
it's a dance, Gotham. I mean, look, we look at that's the way the world should be. Why be all the same kind of person, right? So.
All right, perfect. But to quickly get back to something you just said, I completely agree with you in terms of studying abroad, studying in a new environment, because more often than not, and you would have seen this as well, right? Coming from Asian countries, it's very easy for people to have a comfort zone or a comfort radius that they define. Okay, I will go study in this town, which is close by. I can come visit. I can do those things. My friends are going to be around. I'll versus deciding to take that tremendous leap and just completely abandoning all forms of comfort and going completely out there. I had the opportunity to do that from studying, doing my schooling in Dubai, and then coming to India to do my
Wow.
undergrad.
Yeah,
And
that's awesome.
and I completely agree with you on that. I mean, just having that, just removing yourself from that, forcing you to confront so many things that you wouldn't have thought possible, right? Now you got to fend for yourself. There's no longer, in a sense, yeah, you are fending for yourself, right? At the end of it.
Yeah, basically. And at the end of the day, you grow up with these values that are, I guess, taught to you, which is great. I mean, like that's what makes the world beautiful, is that we're a mix of cultures and values and experiences. But then you go out and you realize like why those values resonate with you. I said, okay, like I'm very Catholic, for instance, and grew up Catholic, go to mass every Sunday and things, and I go to Boston and I have freedom, I guess. But I said, something's missing in my life, and I started going to mass, and now I have an appreciation for it that's different. It's my choice, and it's I know why I believe in it, and I guess living abroad gives you that chance to discover that about yourself.
Absolutely. So quickly before we jump to the MBA part of it, I want to quickly, if I saw like something really interesting about your work experience is that you've done a significant amount of volunteer work. And I think that's fantastic. I've done some as well, and I wanted to get your perspective on what was your motivation to actually devote your time to doing that itself.
Right. Well, as you know, I mean, the Philippines is a beautiful country, but it's plagued with wealth inequality, like a big gap between those who have so much and those who don't have a lot, and a lot of people in the middle. And it was surreal to live such a comfortable life with my family and be so blessed. And then I go outside of not even maybe 20 kilometers, and you see it. You see the effects of corruption and poverty, and so I just felt like I was given much to be able to give, not to just focus on myself and make myself successful. And I
Yeah.
mean, that just started in school when they would have these once a year, like, okay, you go spend some time with the community, and I don't know, you teach, or you build houses and things. And that was just part of my life, and then I just kind of sought it wherever I went. And it just brings me back to um yeah, I don't know, like it when you're not so focused on yourself, like when I'm not so focused on my career and things, like I realize like I'm just happier person when I'm not so focused on myself, because I know that I'll figure it out. But and I'm just a happier person when I'm like volunteering, thinking about others, and life just works out on its own for me. So yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that perspective. Like we are people of privilege, right? We have the ability to pursue education, do things that a lot of people out there don't have access to. And I couldn't agree more on that, on the fact that it lends so much perspective to just how much we are capable of doing and giving back, but we have to make such an effort to do it. And one of the things that I think is essential with volunteer work, or not essential, but one of the things that I think should be essential for everyone is to have kids have it mandatory in schooling to have volunteer work as a mandatory aspect of your schooling itself.
Yeah, I mean, I had that. Like, I had that growing up, Philippines, and I'm very grateful for it. And but the thing is, like, it's not just about what we give, but what we get from it. You know, like being with these kids who find happiness in just small things, in paper airplanes, and it
Yeah,
really just gave me a perspective of life, right? I mean, these kids found it. These kids found the secret to life and to happiness, and I've learned so much from that. I love teaching kids. That's probably my favorite kind of volunteer work.
right.
Just because they kind of remind me of life that should be filled with creativity and imagination and just appreciation for the small things. So
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I've it I haven't done it as extensively as you have,
hmm
but the times that I did volunteer, it has been so enriching, and I've had so many great stories to tell of it.
yeah,
And
and
yeah,
you'll have many
absolutely.
more.
Hopefully, yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream that I'm one day at a position where I can do something a lot more substantial.
Right.
Yeah, when that happens, we'll get on another podcast and we'll talk about that aspect of it.
I was
Uh,
about to ask how much time do we have here because
but coming to our shared experience itself,
right.
we both did the MBA in IE Business School. Let's do a shameless marketing plug for one of the
top
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 business
business
schools.
school.
There's been some great ranking news that's come out. So anyone who's listening and is considering IE, go for it.
Go for it.
Uh, but off the bat, I've been. So I'm going to ask you something that I've asked a lot of the folks who did the MBA with us, who have
hmm
been on the podcast. I've asked them this, and even not just on the podcast, offline as well. What were your expectations? Before you came in, what were you? Uh, what What do you think IE was going to be like, or this whole experience was going to be like?
I laugh because the funny thing is, when I thought you would ask me about this question, my answer is I came with no expectations. Like, this was the first thing that I've done in my life that I just went for it because I came from a nonprofit background and I was doing corporate social responsibility and I wanted to understand the business perspective, like how businesses think and evaluate their strategies and how they channel that into corporate social responsibility or social development initiatives. And that was it. I did a very menial like search for MBA sustainability, like anything that came out that resonated with me, and I came up. And I don't know, like, I guess what's great about business school is it's not like college where everyone kind of is following a path. Like, everyone is there at 18 years old and you're all going through the same process. No, you come into an MBA as a choice and at in a certain part of your life, and you're with people that have also made that choice. And so I don't know, I really didn't have a lot of expectations. I came to learn, and I think that's what made me enjoy the experience so much, that everything was yes. Join startup lab, yes. And be part of the coordinated marketing club, yes. Alumni ambassador, yes. Graduation speaker, yes. Like, I just said yes to everything because I didn't have like something that specifically I wanted to get out of it, and I got so
Hmm.
much more because of that. You know, more
Absolutely,
than
I
I could
could.
ever dream of.
I mean, and I find that my approach was very similar. Before I came, I had uh, my expectations were all over the place. To be honest, one thing was I was expecting a very formal environment, which was which was there in bits. But let's face it. I mean, that was IE is a very unique school when it comes to that. And another thing is also, no, I didn't have like this complete path set out for me either. I also knew I had a few vague goals that I knew I wanted to hit over the course of the year, and I was just exploring, seeing what comes. And frankly, I find this approach, the one you and I have just discussed, is perhaps the best one.
Right. Because I mean that's what life is, right? I mean, I've tried or I mean, I guess in my quote unquote past life, but when I was in college, I was very intentional with
Hmm.
my goals. I said I wanted to study in the States and I wanted to go to this school because this school offered an internship program that could get me a job, and bam, bam, bam. Like I strive for top grades, and I got them, but I said no to a lot of things along the way because I had my goal in mind.
Right.
And the thing is, I achieved everything that I had wanted to achieve, but then I reached a point of realizing, okay, now what? And then I realized that we limit ourselves by our imagination of what will bring us happiness and what is success, and then when we get it, it it's a fleeting thing. And so I prefer to take life as by the day, and whatever it comes to give me, and I learn and I'll grow, and then things have just been falling into place. So yeah, I super um, advocate for this life of just
Just
following.
just winging it.
Not
just
necessarily winging it,
just winging.
but trusting yourself and like putting yourself out there.
That's again a
Trusting.
fancy way of saying winging it. No, no, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. I don't want to. I don't want to shit on that because I'm a firm believer of that as well. But
Good. You said it, not me. I'm here trying.
but okay, let's we're talking about the NBA. We're talking about okay. So quick before we move on to like the heart of our conversation, which is going to be your startup and the experience of being an entrepreneur, I want to quickly get what do you think are the few top tips that you would give a prospective MBA student
Mhm.
right off the bat. What should they know? What should they be ready for? And what should they do when they get in to an MBA program?
Number one, wing it. No, but really, I mean, come into it excited. You're in an incredible program, an incredible city with really, really great people, and I think that's what IE does well. They choose people from all walks of life, and they choose people that I don't know. I think all have the same mindset when they come into it. So have that mindset. It's not a competition, at least not at IE. Work, meet as many people as possible. Don't focus on the grades. You already have the degree on your resume, so focus on what you can get out of it, which is networks and learning and challenging yourself. Put yourself out there. I remember I wasn't even supposed to do the startup lab. I said I'm going to do the social impact lab because I'm a social impact career. And my IE admissions contact told me, you're in a pretty low risk environment, in a place where your only job is to learn. Why don't you try something that's outside of your comfort zone? And lo and behold, where it brought me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, just have fun and be confident. My gosh, um, you know, say yes to things that are placed in front of you, because the opportunity won't always be there. And yeah, go out on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Because those are the memories that you'll carry, and those are the memories that you'll have when you want to reach out to friends and stay in their houses and reminisce on good times. So yeah.
Perfect. So coming to Startup Lab itself, right? Let's talk about that
Mhm.
that those few weeks and how your startup Mamu was born out of that whole stretch. So
Sure.
what was your experience like with Startup Lab? And yeah, why don't you get into it and I'll jump in with how horrible it was for me. But
Yeah, well, you know what? By the time Startup Lab came, I mean, this was after 2 semesters of having like the entrepreneurship modules and already going through the process. So by this time, you kind of had a better idea. At least I had a better idea. Okay, like um, of the team and the idea, and I was just lucky. I Marco, our MBA classmate who owns a plastic manufacturing plant in Lebanon, and invited Antoine and I to have lunch, and just started like brainstorming about how to recycle plastic and what you could do. And we just had like a 3-hour lunch on, on just ideas and recycling and all these things. And I just knew, like it was just such a gut feeling, such a good gut feeling. And I think people underestimate that. People form teams because because they're all the same expertise, or they're all from the same country, or they all, they're the best of the class. But honestly, we formed our team, and later on with Vince and Pablo and Alex, we are the most diverse people ever. But we formed it because we loved the idea. We were just honestly really excited about an idea that tackled a real social and environmental issue that we could all connect with amidst being from 6 different countries.
Right.
Um, so Mamu started as plastics, collecting plastic bottles and trying to make it into recycled plastic. But as the first 2 weeks, and Startup Lab is only 5 weeks, imagine like the first 2 weeks of talking to companies, asking if they would buy recycled plastic, and talking to people if they would change their recycling habits. We're just bumping walls left and right, until finally someone said, focus on a different kind of waste. Try organic waste. And we did. And we looked at breweries and wine and olive oil, but breweries are the most accessible here in Madrid. So we just started going around. Like the day that we decided, we didn't even waste time making surveys or anything. We just went out and talked to breweries and said, what do you do with your byproduct? And they said, not much. The big ones have resources to sell them and send them
Which
off
ones
to
did you go
farms.
to? Any that we might know?
We went to 3 small craft breweries around Malasaña.
Okay.
I can't exactly remember the names, but it was great. I mean, we had a beer while having a conversation. You can't really complain. But I don't know. We only had 3 weeks left of Startup Lab, and we just were acting super fast. And Antoine researched what could be done with the byproduct, and we just pitched, and it went super well. And then we um yeah, I mean, it was such
Yeah,
a great.
it was actually, it was, I remember, I mean, your startup was talked about quite a lot because if I remember correctly, I was talking to Maddie, a common
Mhm.
friend of ours, and she was like, yeah, Maita's been like every week they're trying out something new. They're bumping walls essentially, going from idea to idea. And
Right.
it's been, it was quite, I think it was quite, I mean, yeah, a startup lab is meant to be stressful as well, right? To emulate the whole experience of running your own business.
No,
Uh,
exactly.
and
And
I remember her telling, like, these guys, and finally with this whole magic mushroom thing, suddenly it was like, wow, these guys, from like nowhere, you have this one powerhouse of a idea that's come out. And I thought it was incredible. It was fascinating to see, and I think, and that emulates a lot of what real world is like, right? I mean, you have so many shitty ideas, and then suddenly one day it's magic. You have the one thing that just jumps out, and we see that we hear those stories so much out there, right? Of
exactly. I mean, that's what I really appreciate about Startup Lab, is that there's one thing to do it for a class project, and to okay, this week we're gonna present like the surveys that we had all our classmates do, which is fine, right? Like, I understand the intention and the format, because it really is the most realistic thing that can be done. Not everyone can just go run around Madrid and stuff. But this is real life. Like, you really do have to um, find the opportunity and work together. I think what was really crazy about our team was that the moment we did this brewery thing, everyone suddenly was in their zone. Like, people, we had someone who was like researching the process, and we were doing the decks, and it just came so naturally. And I think that's how entrepreneurship should be. It shouldn't be, I have a great solution to a problem, but this and that, I don't know if it exists. No, not at
right,
all. Like, the
right.
moment we confirmed that this is something that could is needed for the breweries, for the environment, for vegetarian market, like all these things, it was just nonstop from there, right? But we needed that confirmation that this is something that would make an impact. And that's the way entrepreneurship should be. It shouldn't just be great ideas left and right.
I'm gonna tell you, like, whenever, like, you have this one trajectory, it's the yin and yang. There has to
Mm-hmm.
be something that is the complete opposite, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's that's exactly what my startup lab is. Because I we started off with an idea. I had good teammates. I don't want to shit on them, but like, we started off with an idea. we pitched it. The first 2 weeks were phenomenal. We finished like at the
No,
top of the.
we're doing so well.
We were we pitched at like the we were finishing at like the top each time, and then we tweaked the idea a little bit because we thought, yeah, this makes sense, and then just downhill from there. The next 3 weeks we lost. We had half the funding the week after, half of that the week after, and the last week we got zero funding. The guys we pitched to were like, no, we do not buy this idea. We will not. We just so basically we started off like on this great high. We were the WeWork of Startup Lab. We started off on an excellent high, and then you just saw this crash and burn that was incredible.
You know what helped us a lot was that we had a mentor. Our mentor for Startup Lab was near Hindi, and I really need to.
Oh, I really like him. He was great. We consulted with him once, and really smart guy, very blunt.
Exactly, and he. I don't know if he ever praised us, to be honest, because the first day we met him, it was we just pitched our idea, and he was like asking us 500 questions, which we had no answers to, and we said. Then we had another mentor who was nicer and still asked us questions, but we were like, yeah, I think we're going with neither. And even when we were winning, when we had like our first funding, I remember that day that we got our first funding for Startup App. Imagine we were the group that for 2 weeks were getting zero, and everyone was just like laughing at us. And we got funding. Near was like, don't get excited. Like he's like, this is just one thing you have to keep pretending that you're not winning, that you're not like I think I remember hearing in a conference, success is the enemy, satisfaction is the enemy, because then you stop pushing.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more given my amazing crash and burn, but
I mean, that's the experience, right? Like you've learned so much from that. I'm so sure, like even if however it ended, I'm sure it was such a learning experience for you guys too.
Yeah, definitely was. So I want to touch upon so more than talking about Mamu, what I want to really talk about is what it means to be an entrepreneur, and what that experience is like, what that journey is like. And to give you a little context, I actually, before I came to IA for a year, I tried to run my own little analytics consultancy, and it was just me and another friend of mine, and like three of us. But it was I made a lot of mistakes. Look, and in retrospect, the way I approached it was completely wrong, and I don't think I even did a very good job at pitching it or anything. But I wanna get your perspective as someone who's made more progress in that sphere, and to talk basically about a couple of the lessons that you would have learned along the way, and that you'd want potential entrepreneurs to keep in mind.
Right. Well, I mean, number one, as I said a while ago, like at the end of the day, it's about the idea. Like you really have to be passionate about it. I mean, our team, we were so diverse that we were like bumping heads all the time, but at the end of the day, like we lasted so long, a lot longer than a lot of the homogeneous teams that maybe were from the same country, and not for anything. I mean, I understand that this isn't we didn't last longer because we were diverse, but it just helped a lot because we didn't stay together because we were all friends or anything. We stayed together because we really wanted to see
so
how.
Quick question there. I've heard this quite a bunch of times, and I've heard them say this quite a lot, is that it's always good to have never have just one founder. It's always good to have a team of founders versus one guy. What's your opinion? What's your take on that?
I mean, I think it depends, right? It depends on. I mean, we were five. I think we were five, and then four, and it was great. I mean, but I've seen also a lot of people be successful as one. So I don't think it's one or the other. I think at the end of the day, it's a lot of this. A lot of entrepreneurship is the drive of definitely at least one person. And I think for us, we're lucky in the sense that Antoine, who figured out how we could use spent grain, and because it was he's an engineer, and for us who came with backgrounds of more generalist backgrounds, like we wouldn't have been able to put that together, but Antoine kind of drove that, and he actually tested the process in his house, like set up when we were saying don't buy anything, he went ahead and bought a hydroponic tent and just started playing around, as he said. But it really moved us forward, and um, that's why he was our CEO.
Uh-huh.
But all of us all together, I mean, everyone brought in something different, something, and we all, I think what was more important is that we were willing to do whatever it took, right? Like, um, we were willing to be mushroom farmers. And none of us came from marketing backgrounds, but when we needed a website and social media pages, Vince, coming from a finance background, stepped up and said okay. And then me, I was afraid of public speaking before going to the MBA. I kid you not. um, and, but I stepped up and I said, okay, like, this is what we need to do, and got it done. And I think that that's a big part of entrepreneurship, is that you come into it just determined to get this idea. It doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter what your past experience is, just come into it with a willingness to keep going, because that's what's going to keep you going. Everyone reads about entrepreneurship on TechCrunch and on Crunchbase and all these things about closing seed funding, but I mean, entrepreneurship is about the day-to-day getting up and not having a boss that's going to tell you have to do this for a salary. No, you don't have a salary. Like, it's you have to get up and say, okay, like, today I'm going to research the health properties of mushrooms. Okay, today I'm going to work a little bit more on the website. Your wins are once every few months. Like, we had a lot of big wins, but in between was a lot of encouraging each other, was a lot of happy hours to
To
kind of step
beat the
back.
depression.
Not different. But to step back and to
No, no,
pause.
I get it. I get what you're saying. I
Right?
mean, it's a tough journey, and there's
Yeah,
so many
yeah.
moments where you're just like, what am I doing?
You
Why
don't
am I?
have progress every day. Like, you have
Yeah,
progress once every few months, but somehow to get to the next one, you have to keep walking. And you did the Camino, right?
yeah, yeah.
And it's a lot like that, because I did the Camino as well, a couple of years ago, and it's not like that. You're walking, you have no idea when you're gonna get to the next one, but you
Yeah.
have to keep walking, and that's what the startup is like. And you sometimes you have to encourage each other. You have to pause and encourage each other. You have to support each other and figure out what everyone needs, and how you're gonna, yeah, keep. It's a big
It's a big. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying. That journey is
journey. Yeah.
extremely. So, a couple of things there. Like, do you, in terms of networking as an entrepreneur,
Hmm.
right? So what's that been like for you guys at Mamu? Have you actively looked out for someone like in terms of like going towards working your way towards investment? There's obviously no way that someone's just going to invest right off the. I mean, there are obviously startups out there who get like an immediate bunch of seed
Right.
funding from an
Right.
external party, from an angel investor.
Hmm.
But how do you work towards making your product a viable option for someone to invest in?
It's incredible. Like, I'm glad you brought this up, because in IE, and one of the things we're really grateful for was that we had everything accessible. We had the professors and we had the experts and the mentors. Everyone was just around us. But when we did this full time in January, we just looked at each other like, where do we start? We don't have a mentor. We don't know who, we don't have contacts, we don't know who to reach out to, and so we started from scratch. Like, I started researching grants to get funding. I mean, we said, okay, we need funding, so we start researching grants, and then through grants you meet people, and then that's where we found our mentor. That's where we found our startup advisor, Felipe Hernandez, who was just incredible. Like, he met us through a grant, but that we didn't get. But he stayed on with us until now, and he just kept meeting with us and kept providing us advice. And when you're honest about what you are trying to do, and people can see that you're genuine, um, then people are more than happy to help you. And this happened. We reached out to so many kinds of institutes, Luxembourg Institute of Health. We reached out to other startup founders. We reached out to investors. We've spoken to more than, I don't know, 500 people maybe in the past few months, just by reaching out to them on LinkedIn, joining programs. I mean, you have to make that initiative. And then we got that grant from EIT Food. And they've been fantastic. I mean, they're mentors, they're people from different industries, and you reach out to them, they connect you to more people. So it's really such an incredible ecosystem of support for entrepreneurs out there. But you have to put yourself out there. You have to be brave and not be afraid of rejection, not be tired of talking, not be shy about what you don't know. I think that's the most important thing. Like,
yeah. Don't be a cocky
exactly. And
founder.
the four of us were not mushroom farmers. Like,
Yeah.
so there was so much we didn't know, and I think help is there if you ask. And I think that's what people need to know. Like, if you're excited about idea, like, ask for help, and one step is always going to lead to another. It's like a domino effect. Like,
Right.
it's been great.
But this brings up a very, very interesting question. And this is probably something that we'll disagree on. But do you think
I'm excited.
do you think being an entrepreneur can be a side gig? Just say it. Say no. Just say no. Because I think yes. I think you have to be really smart. Let me maybe tell you what I think first, and then we'll take it from there. But why I think so is, I think so. Yeah, there's like so much out there, so many people out there telling you that you want to really start something. You want to get out there. You need to like commit 100% and do it. Right. Now, some people can afford to do that, right? Mm-hmm. Some people have the, say, monetary backing, or just have balls of steel and can quit everything, live in a tent, but get their shit done. And I respect that. And it takes a whole different kind of perseverance to do that. But where I'm coming from is, what I'm a side believer. No, I'm not side believer. Sorry, a strong believer in is having a side hustle always. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've been doing that for the last. I started that consultancy. It didn't work out, but I kept taking up freelance projects. I kept putting myself out there, looking up for small little projects that I could constantly take. Because mm-hmm. I'm a firm believer that you need to have a side hustle. If your mm-hmm. entire focus and all your eggs are in one basket, you're gonna get tired of carrying that basket.
Right.
You want some variety. You want to do. And why can't if you're smart enough about it, if you're smart enough in the way you structure your side hustle, you can put all your resources together. You're extremely streamlined. That's what you got to do. Those are the things that you got to make sure that you're doing. But eventually, if it starts picking up, that you've set it up in a way that you could just jump in, and that your side hustle might eventually become your main hustle. Mm-hmm. So that's my perspective. But I want to get what your opinion is about being an entrepreneur as a side gig.
Well, sorry to disappoint you, but I actually do agree with you.
How dare you? Is this even a debate?
I mean, I think it's better than some recent debates.
Oh, are you alluding to a very recent
Not
incident?
Alluding to anything in particular.
We can talk about it. We can. Okay, but we'll get to that later. Yes.
No, you know what? I've seen people do it. So again, I don't think there's one handbook for entrepreneurship in general. I mean,
do you think you could have done that with Mamu?
The thing is, yes, probably to a sense, but I'm the kind of person that when I put 200% focus on something, right? Like, in my work, I've always given everything, and because I've been passionate about it, right? So but I know people that have a job because it's a job. They're not crazy about it. It's not something that's extremely challenging or demands so much of them, and things like that. And then they have a more passionate side hobby, side interest, side hustle, as you said. They can do their day job and finish it at 6 p.m. required, and then they'll explore something else, and that's totally fine too. So in that sense, for me, we graduated, and we hadn't really had time to look for jobs because we were so busy with Venture Day. Like we have come so far with Mamu up until the very end, until right before graduation, that most of us, we didn't do a lot of applications, and because we were fully dedicated into Mamu, and that's how we moved forward, and that's how we thought that we would need to move forward, and that's how we did.
Uh-huh.
I think, of course, it could have been possible. It might have moved a little slower. The thing about Mamu, I think, is it wasn't a hobby that, or something that we already knew a lot about, that we could just dabble on the side. We needed to learn so much. We were starting a business, learning about the technical process, raising funds, building a network. There was just all these things, that just needed full-time attention. And even if it wouldn't either be fair to Mamu, like personally for me, it wouldn't be fair to either Mamu or my new job post MBA if I split that attention into both, because I mean, starting a new job is already demanding a lot of time, and starting a new business is equally demanding, and I would just be 50-50 in both, and that just didn't seem like it was worth
Very
it.
fair.
Yeah, fair to myself, fair to others. Like I wouldn't get anything out of either. So I just thought, give 100% to this, and if I start a full-time job and decide to dabble a little bit on something, then yeah, it's definitely possible. I agree.
Perfect. So this is going to be a more philosophical question, but I think it'll be a perfect way for us to round up our conversation. And that would be, what do you think is going to be your legacy?
Oof.
It's a big one, huh? Real big one. Take your time.
Thank you.
Try not to cry, but
um I want to be remembered, I guess, as because that's what legacy is. What you're remembered for. That's someone that just took a leap of faith, like, and um, gave everything in whatever came across my path. I just never let faith over fear. Like that's my motto. That it I could look at this as something scary or something super exciting, and it may not work out, but it's what's in front of me right now, right? So someone that completely lived in the present, and took as much advantage of it, because we don't know if we have tomorrows, right? So that's
absolutely. And I mean, what more could you wish to be remembered for than something
yeah,
as
yeah.
something like that? So just want to thank you for having this conversation with me. It's been fantastic to talk about a few of these things. To all potential investors and recruiters out there, please reach out to Maita. She's awesome. She's been very well loved across the MBA, and not just with the students, with the staff, with the everyone. So please, thank you so much, Maita. Stay on. I'm going to stop the recording, but stay on so I can say goodbye to you properly.
Okay, thank you so much, and please continue to say yes to Gotham if you're listening. If he reaches out to you randomly for a podcast, promise it's gonna be an experience. And I know this is an absolute pleasure, Gotham. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maita.